In this 90-minute beer commercial, a Toronto yuppie returns to his hometown amidst a string of Sasquatch-related beer thefts to help save his old friend's ski waxing business, which he himself had inadvertently endangered. We watch the movie Out Here today on...
The f*** is this? Hello, however you wish to self-identify, and welcome back to The F*** is This, where we dive through DVD bins, sort through streaming apps to find the weird, the bizarre, and the unloved. I'm your host, Kaz Lesgard, the queer out here, and joining me always is my co-host, Glacier Fresh Jameson Rafter.
Oh, I like it. You know, like, you've kind of been, like, hit or miss with some of your, like, nicknames for me, but I like Glacier Fresh.
Yeah. I thought you'd like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you mean, like, fresh as in, like, oh, he's so funky fresh, or as in, like, fresh, and then an old lady slaps me for being cheeky?
Yeah, you know, a little column
whatever
A,
works.
a little column A, a little column B.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
what are you gonna do? You
Mm-hmm,
know,
mm-hmm.
yeah, it depends on how you're feeling.
Yeah.
How's it going, Jameson? Why am I using catchphrases for a specific company?
Well, because today we will be enjoying the Kokanee produced original feature film, The Movie Out Here.
It's a movie all about beer. A
Yep.
specific beer that maybe not everyone listening to this is familiar with, but we in Canada are very familiar with.
Yeah, it's a brand of beer. It's one of the major labels, and they produced a movie, and I'll go into some detail about like the history of it all. But they made a movie, and it is pretty much exactly what you think it is.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to help us watch it, we have a very special guest here.
We
in
do
the
have a very
studio.
special guest today.
Someone we've been trying to get on here for a very long time.
He's the guy who we met through.
Yeah. Without this guy, without this guy, there would be no podcast to listen to because
you have him
and
to
I
thank
would not
or
know
blame
each
or
other.
whatever.
Well, hi, guys. Wow.
Yeah, he's a journalist for the Vancouver Sun. He is an author, playwright, a sometimes actor, and he is the lead singer for the late 2000s Cinnamon Toast Funk.
That's right. I still have that album.
I do not still have that.
Gave it away to me. I know for a fact you have an entire box full of them.
Yeah, just because they didn't sell, but that means no one has them, really.
Just gotta go door to door, man.
They're
Like-
orphans. If you want to do the fuck is this about my shitty band, you could do like an audio version.
That'll be the first.
Oh
that'll
my
be
God.
the
podcast.
Oh my
The whole thing's
goodness.
an audio version.
That'll be the first episode of our spin-off
Fuck
podcast.
did we listen to?
The fuck did we just hear?
This sucks.
Anyway, Harrison Mooney is here, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey.
Welcome,
All right, well,
Harrison.
yeah, I'm honored to be here. I am touched to learn that this podcast wouldn't exist without me, and I am troubled to learn that we will be watching a feature-length beer commercial. Why? Why would you do this to me?
Well,
I don't have that much time.
Like tonight, or just in general?
Like in my
is
life.
this,
Like in
is
life,
this,
yeah. So many better things you could be doing.
Yeah, my
Could have been napping.
my wife is due to give birth at any minute, but I want you to know that when I told her that I had agreed to do this podcast, she was not that upset.
So that's a win.
Yeah,
you know?
I just hope you you do not miss the birth of your second child because of this piece of shit.
Oh, well, I mean, that means it's a fast birth.
She'll appreciate
And that's
that.
good news. That's good news. The last one was, I don't know, like 12 hours. And it was just stressful. It's not that long in the grand scheme of, how long births can be, but it's
Tell me about it.
too long for anything, really. Nothing should be 12 hours. Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. Except for maybe the PM stretch of the day.
Yeah.
Or the AM stretch.
It's not
But
like many things
certainly-
it could be 12 hours if they're good enough.
Even
think-
like in songs when they're like, we'll be fucking all night long. Like, way too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just...
Like, I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I love the extended editions, but I am not sitting down in one sitting and wasting a day watching them.
I think
Hell
it's
no.
got to be implied though if you're listening to one of those songs where they're like, "I'm fucking all night." Like they took breaks to hydrate.
I feel like,
Like, they
too,
must
like
have,
they
you
are
know.
counting sleep as part of fucking, like maybe like a aftercare.
Yeah.
So it's like we're gonna have like the rigorous physical part of our sex all night. Like I mostly want to sleep at night.
Sure.
And if it's like a post-coital snooze, I'm down. So like let's have a little sex as in like the natural Ambien, and then let's just go right into a sleep. And let's be sleeping all night long. I mean,
Nothing gets her motor running quite like all right, let's call it for now and resume in the morning.
Yeah. Anyhow, so if my wife listens to this podcast later and remembers that she was giving birth while I was doing this fucking bit,
She okayed it. She said it was fine.
I'm excited to end a certain chunk of my life where probably this is the last movie. Because, like, for the rest of my life, I'll have 2 kids, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But, like,
And then
I didn't have 2 kids for 34 years, and then I saw the movie out here.
And now you have 2 kids.
And now I have 2 kids.
Right.
And my life has never been the same. And, yeah, really.
Really, you have us to thank.
Yeah.
We have you to
I'm
thank
glad
for this
someone's
pod.
excited to watch this movie.
Speaking about movies, the whole point of this podcast is we watch weird, bizarre, crazy, strange movies. Harrison, what would you say is the weirdest cinematic experience you've ever had?
That I've ever had.
Yeah, or a recent one that sticks in memory.
I mean, no, I think, like, the weirdest experience for me was seeing Snakes on a Plane on opening night, because that was, you know, kind of like an early internet viral thing.
Yeah, the
and
internet made a
so-
movie was like the big tagline for it.
Yeah, so like everybody knew that this wasn't going to be a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I imagine like the movie out here, but the energy in the room was that we're all going to have a great time here now. So like,
Yeah.
you know,
We all know what we're signing up for. This is going to be a ridiculous experience that we all may have had a hand in. somehow.
Yeah, right? Like, so it was the most kind of bizarrely collaborative film watching experience I think I've ever had. You know, people were, like, applauding at lines. Like, I think, like, a snake bit a guy on the dick, and, like, the crowd went wild.
Check that one off on the bingo
Like,
card or whatever.
yes!
I think I cheered at that, too. I think we all did.
The guy who got his dick bit off by a snake was future not superstar Taylor Kitsch.
No way!
How do you know this?
John Carter himself started
Wow.
off getting a
And
serpentine blowjob.
He served that film a lot better than he served John Carter.
I don't know. I haven't seen Sean Carter.
so you're saying,
No one has.
are you
exactly.
saying getting
Yeah.
bit on the dick by a snake was the highlight of his career?
I think it was. I mean, and that's disappointing for the guy, because he went on to star in several films.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the poor guy because he had a string of there was one year in particular where it's all like Taylor Kitsch is going to be the next Hollywood megastar, and then all in the space of one summer he had
He was Gambit, right?
he was Gambit, but then he had John Carter, and then he had Battleship, and then he had Savages, and it's all like, and that's the end of Taylor Kitsch's career. Yeah, within the space of like 4 months, I think that all came out. Yeah.
Stop trying to make Taylor Kitsch happen. What happened by now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go into a little bit about this movie now.
Yes,
that we
please
got to
do.
watch. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so the humbling origin story of how I got this movie into my possession, because
Right.
I told you guys I wanted to tell you this. I don't know why I hyped it up. It's not that interesting of a story. I was in the...
Well, we're all on the edge of our seat right now.
Well,
so
gather around.
Can you
I'll
add
tell you
some
this.
dramatic flourishes?
No.
Yeah, oh, all right,
This-
cool.
This deserves no dramatic flourish.
We'll edit some in later.
Sure. We'll pump in some like really epic music behind me.
Can you add harp sounds and make it seem like you're going to do like a flashback?
Yeah, do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it like it was yesterday. All right, so I don't know, like probably in 2012, I was in line in the liquor store, and the cashier was like, "Hey, do you want this movie?" Because the Kokanee company like delivered like a box full of them, and they were just giving them away like for free.
It's the
And then-
first movie to debut exclusively in liquor stores.
Yeah. Yeah, digital download copy of it.
I believe that liquor stores had this one early. That's all I'm saying.
believe it too. It
Exclusive,
makes sense.
available only at your liquor town.
I want to know though, like you got this 8 years ago.
Yeah.
You were given this for free at a liquor store 8 years ago,
Mm.
and you still have it. Like that's
Yeah, because I don't know, like it was like shrink wrapped and like didn't unwrap, and it just like stayed on my DVD shelf waiting for a special occasion. When I always figured like eventually my
cool.
buddies and I would like would find the time to watch it when we were drunk as hell, but the time never came.
No.
no. We're gonna do this,
And we're doing this
Stone
now.
Cold
Yeah,
Sober.
so closer, just as this movie is intended. All right, so I want to go into a little bit of the history on this movie. So can't really talk about this movie because it is like, just like a huge branded content movie. Do you guys know what that means? branded content?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. For listeners who don't know, it essentially just means, wrote it down here. Well, I'll get to it in this, but it's different than product placement, where like a company will pay to have, they'll help finance a movie if like in one scene a character uses their product or drives their car or whatever.
Yeah, that's why cars in the movies park like at an angle. Like,
yeah, where you can
car
see the
commercials.
logo and everything.
Yeah.
This entire movie was produced by the product.
It is, and it was with the intention of like raising brand awareness. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's pretty much what brand content is.
Are we
here.
gonna like not say the brand at all?
It's a beer. No, it's Kokanee. Yeah,
I just
the
wasn't sure
best
what
damn
we were...
beer in the world.
I wasn't sure what we were doing about that.
Yeah.
If we. Yeah, this is like a 90-minute Kokanee commercial, but it's.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna get some free shit out of it, great. But we're probably not.
Could have easily sent an email over to Kokanee and say, "Hey, we're going to be talking about your movie. We're the first podcast to be talking about your movie." Probably. I don't know if that's true, but like,
fuck, now that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Shit.
You know what? Keep talking. I'm going to send off a quick email right
sure.
now.
All right, so
I do have the Kokanee brand just in my inbox folder.
All right, so the advertising agency Grip has been involved in major Kokanee campaigns since the early 2000s. The Sasquatch character has been sort of like a unofficial mascot of the Kokanee beer for a while, but one of Grip's main contributions was in the mid-2000s. They created this stoic, hard-ass ranger character as his nemesis. And he was like this... he would extol these virtues on, like, vigilance to his deputies while, like, the Sasquatch was, like...
We all remember.
Yeah, he was stealing beer in the background because he was, like, fucking incompetent as a ranger.
Stay calm, step away from the beer. These hands are licensed weapons. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love those commercials far more than I ever loved the product that they came for.
He was he was kind of like the inspiration for the Kilroy character.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just like this oblivious, gritty.
Oh, yeah, the
kind of
Kokanee Ranger, played by an actor named John Novak. I remember those commercials. I remember the Glacier Girls.
How the fuck do you know the name of the actor who played?
Because I'm...
Kaz is a superpower, and it's a really lame
so
superpower.
strange.
Yeah!
Man.
Also, I wrote it down right here.
Probably looked
I wrote it right down.
You guys have come with notes.
In preparation for the show that we're doing that you're listening to.
Fine.
So
right
in 2008, Grip had a Live or Die campaign for the Ranger, where fans would weigh in on whether the Ranger would live or die.
It's from Kokanee headquarters. They're thinking of replacing me with someone younger and hipper.
What?
They're sending someone to deal with my possible termination. They're gonna kill him off. Hogwash. Someone has to protect the precious supply of glacier fresh Kokanee. Plus, my fans wouldn't allow it. Weird. I wasn't expecting anyone. Oh dear.
Fans overwhelmingly voted to kill him off.
Because of course they did. Because if you've ever given the fans the option of live or die in any situation, going back to fucking Roman times, of course they're gonna go. Of course they're gonna go thumbs down.
Yeah.
No one has ever voted for a character to live.
Live. I will say there was one person that I can think of who did not vote to kill, and that's Pontius Pilate. Guys, do you know the story of Jesus Christ?
No.
It's
We can get into it, but we have a lot to get through here.
Okay, that's fine. Later,
runs-
I do want to tell you about
It
what
runs
he did for
parallel
you
to the story of the Kokanee Ranger.
yeah, it's true. I believe Sasquatch washed his hands of the decision.
That's the Old Testament that they don't want you to read.
Aha!
Oh man. All right. So with the Ranger dead, this resulted in the need for a big idea for the next marketing campaign. Grip's creative director Randy Stein suggested producing a film, noting an interest in branded content, just in collaboration with the advertisers. This film had received financing and promotion before the screenplay was finished, believe it or not.
That's not a good sign.
And aside from executive producer Jeff Sackman, the film was written and directed entirely by Grip staff members.
Oh no, that's also not a good sign.
Fan outreach initiatives allowed Kokanee fans to audition for walk-ons, submit their favorite bars for filming locations, and even submit original songs for the film. So there was like a bit of a, crowdsourced. I'm so happy that you brought up Snakes on a Plane because it's like that kind of level of involvement. We want to give back to the fans of
really
Kokanee
is sort
beer.
of really ahead of its time in 2013. Like a movie like that would be a lot easier to do nowadays with like the advent of like social media and
influencers and what have you.
Like I'm surprised we don't have a movie directed by Twitter yet. Like I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. Like because that seems just like the next logical step.
Okay, so I want to talk a little about the cast, or what do we call this now? Let's meet the cast.
Oh, let's meet the cast.
All right, let's meet the cast. So it's just a lot of like Canadian journeyman actors. A couple of names stand out. Robin Nielsen, who is our main guy, he's been in sort of like a handful of Canadian-made stuff. But
I'm assuming most of the cast is Canadian.
yes, this guy is the grandnephew of Leslie Nielsen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so a little bit of legacy actor there.
A little nepotism.
Yeah, I know you
Into the
hate
movie out
that.
here.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that shit.
Harrison, tell us about how much you hate it. Harrison hates it when the offspring
makes me
of
so
famous
mad.
actors show up in movies. Sometimes it works out good, though.
Scott Eastwood, on the other hand.
Scott Eastwood is the different
worst
end of that pole,
fucking
yeah.
actor. Not only is he the worst actor, but like when he shows up on screen, like all it does is remind me of how difficult it is to break into so many industries
Yeah.
unless your dad was already
What
doing
is
it.
Hollywood legend?
Yeah, right. So I see that guy and I think of like everything that's wrong with our society now. Like, I see the whole social hierarchy.
failing upwards kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like
You're more-
starring, the glass ceiling as a member of the
You are-
Justice League or Squad or whatever.
Yeah,
He was in Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah, you're
Justice Squad, I think I
yeah.
wanted to.
You're more of a Kirk Douglas guy than a Michael Douglas guy. Is really.
Well,
what you're getting at
I mean,
here.
again, like that's
'Cause, like, he had to
even
earn
that's
his
a bit
spot.
before my time, right? So, like, I've only seen Michael Douglas,
Yeah.
and thought great guy, great actor, seems
Yeah.
good, he's good and stuff. But come to think of it, I've always kind of wondered how this guy became. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it's
I'm wondering
always-
how he landed Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah,
So
well,
it's always so it's always like the first, like the top of the pyramid. You don't like it anyone like fuck Angelica Houston and
Oh
and
no!
like
I mean,
fuck
obviously, like a lot of these actors are cool, and like like Natalie Portman's great. She's way better than. Doesn't her dad like a big name?
Oh no,
Like-
I don't think so.
Who's
You picked like the one actor who like it doesn't have a famous
I
family.
feel like she has a famous.
I think
maybe
you're
I'm
thinking of
Angelina
Rooney
Jolie.
Mara.
No, I
right?
mean no. I know that Rooney Mara. That's
Guys,
the worst
guys,
shit
we
ever.
got a lot to cover.
got a lot to
Can
cover
I,
right
can
now.
I
We
just
can just go
complain
down
about
this, yeah.
how both Mara sisters are big name actors and their dad owns the New York Giants?
Yeah, that's
Come
not
on,
cool.
come
That's
on.
not cool.
I just want to say before we move on, since we're talking about this, I just finished season 1 of The Boys.
Yeah.
And one of the actors in that is Jack Quaid, who's the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. He's awesome. He's great. He's genuinely great. I do not share your views on this. I think
I mean-
I see the nepotism.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying some people, and I agree with you. Scott Eastwood should not have a career,
No, he really
and he
shouldn't.
hasn't been in anything. I think in like a couple of years. So I think Scott
was
Eastwood
in-
fever is over now.
He was in everything for like a couple
He
of
was.
years.
There was one summer we were going to a ton of movies, and Scott Eastwood was in like every third
Every
movie.
movie,
And
and
yeah,
it
no,
just
I
come out,
agree.
like,
That was an annoying summer.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Jesus Christ, you guys.
Well, maybe
right.
don't tell us if anyone else is the son of Leslie Nielsen.
Okay, fine. That was way more discussion than I
Because
expected.
we've never
for
gone
a
off
guy.
on. Because we never go on tangents on this
all right.
show.
Our leading lady is a Vancouver actress named Catherine Isabelle.
From Ginger Snaps.
I was gonna say she has a lot of she's very prominent in like horror films.
Yeah.
She in Ginger Snaps, she was Ginger.
Yep.
In Bloody Mary, she was
snaps and
Mary.
Ginger.
You know,
She's in Freddy vs. Jason.
as Jason.
As
I wanted to make that joke.
that was a good method good method role for her. Ginger Snaps is a fucking great
That's a
movie.
great
Yeah,
movie.
I've
yeah.
seen that,
And
yeah.
and like to my interest, because I really loved the show, loved and hated it. Hannibal. She was Margot Verger.
That's
Verger,
right.
yeah. She's great, and she was really good in that show.
Hannibal's the only show I think I've ever seen where I thought, like, too murdery. I think this is
It's pretty gruesome for a network TV show.
troublingly murdery.
No, I know it's a show about Hannibal Lecter. Of course, it's all murdery.
All right, the villain of this piece is a fellow by the name of Gary Chalk. You may not recognize his face,
Hell yeah!
but he is the voice of Optimus Primal in Beast Wars.
Baby.
I almost met Gary Chalk.
Yeah.
I was working in a restaurant. I was working in the kitchen some years ago that had open mic nights every Wednesday night. And I was in the back, and I could always hear, and it was always the same people coming every night. There was one dude who nearly ruined Wild Horses by Rolling Stones for me because he came every night and he played it wrong.
Was it Gary Chalk?
No, but there was one
Dave
night.
Chalk.
Oh,
There was one night the host came up and he went up to the mic. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, our next presenter is Gary Chalk." And I'm like Gary Chalk? Gary Chalk? And I went out and yeah, Gary Chalk played like 3 Van Morrison songs.
Oh, no way.
And as soon as he was done, I'm all like, I'm going to go over, I'm going to meet Gary Chalk. And then these fucking bros come out of nowhere and it's all like, "Oh, Mr. Chalk, I'm so inspired by you. I've been following you for years." And there was just no good window of opportunity because I'm not, because
Did they beat you to it?
He took
You
like
would've done the exact
and he took
same
like a bunch of photos with them, and I'm
got
like, I don't want
chalk-blocked.
to. Yeah, and I'm just standing there in my apron, and I'm all like, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go back and not. But yeah, Gary Chalk's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and you can totally hear the Optimus Primal too when he speaks. It's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, now the last two members I want to say in this cast. So in a movie like these kind of frat boy comedies, there will be like some celebrity gets where they play themselves. And one should be to your interest, Kaz, It is Canadian reggae fusion artist Snow.
Oh, shit!
Informer.
Which you did wonderfully at karaoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my finest moment.
If you let me guess, I would have guessed that Snow was in this.
I had to look at Canadian reggae fusion. Like, I can't believe he was available. This movie. They got him.
Snow giving us so much cred.
All right, and
But maybe, they were probably like, we need a lot of Snow for this movie. Way out here.
yeah. You want Snow, you got him, and then he just showed up and like,
We forgot in Canada you have to specify if you want the person.
That's
or
how
the
he gets.
weather
That's how he
phenomenon.
gets paid.
I mean, the script
People
wasn't
want-
written yet
yeah.
by the time they started financing. They just
They weren't sure what
It
kind
was
of
a
snow
fuck
that
up
they
in
needed. They were like, all right, so far we have half a script and snow. And they're like, it's great. So obviously we'll build the snow.
yeah. He
into
wants
an
to know.
igloo or-
He wants to know how big his trailer is. Who does?
It's a well-known fact that if you make a movie specifically about a beer product, Snow will just show up like Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Snow the man?
All right, and the last one here. Now, Kaz, I know you're not a sports guy. All right.
I not talked about my love of sports many times on
all
this
right.
very show?
Harrison, you and I are.
There's a hockey player
yeah.
in this, right? Yeah.
So you and I are sports guys. Now, this is a. Don't get ahead of me on this.
I
All right.
wouldn't dare.
This is a fairly controversial hockey player, and I am going to do as a Vancouver Canuck fan, I'm going to.
Marty McSorely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and be as diplomatic about this as possible, okay? All right? Okay.
Marty McSorley.
I know who Marty McSorley is.
Okay, great.
I have heard. I have
Because
heard
of
of.
the incident.
Yes, of course, everyone. So, for listeners who may not know, Marty McSorley played in the NHL for roughly 17 years. He was best known as an enforcer and his on the ice title.
Enforcer. He went around and hit people with his hockey stick. A looky boom boom down. Sorry.
Yeah, he was known as Wayne Gretzky's bodyguard. So that should kind of give you an idea of his how prolific he was. In 2001, in the dying seconds of a game against the Vancouver Canucks, McSorley swung his stick and hit Donald Brashear in the head. Brashear fell backwards and hit his head on the ice, and he lost consciousness and suffered a grade 3 concussion. Thankfully, this was not the end of Brashear's NHL career, but it was for McSorley.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
The league suspended him for the remainder of the season, and in October of the following year, the Provincial Court of BC found him guilty of assault with a weapon. He was sentenced to 18 months prohibition.
Prohibition.
Sure.
He wasn't allowed to drink alcohol.
Yeah,
Whatever, that's-
probation.
Yeah.
He was. I can't read my fucking writing. Sentenced to 18 months probation. His NHL suspension was extended a full year, which ostensibly led to his retirement from the league.
Yes. I know who Marty McSorley is because growing up, my dad had a cat named Marty that was named after Marty McSorley. And when the whole stick incident happened, I called my dad, and he was very disappointed. Yes.
Yeah,
He was very
that's too
disappointed in Marty. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to have you don't want your your animals to be named after
Yeah.
provably bad people. That's,
Right.
I think, how that,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very good way to put it.
Yeah.
It was really awkward when I went home to Christmas because my aunt has a parakeet named Mussolini.
You guys watch the...
But not that Mussolini.
Right, it's
Like-
a parakeet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a moose named Mussolini.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no, it's Alini Moose, but it's the idea.
As I was coming out of my mouth, I switched from Hitler to Mussolini just because
Smart.
just because everyone does Hitler now. It's like Hitler's out. We need to bring in the Italian
Yeah,
fascists.
there were more than one genocidal monster in the history of the world.
I appreciate you guys being inclusive about your genocidal monster.
We try. We're an all-inclusive podcast.
All right, so what do you think of that cast, guys?
It's not good.
No.
I'm excited to see Marty McSorley just walk all over his lines.
So wait, when did the stick thing happen again?
Early 2001.
So this movie was made after
Many years
the
after.
incident.
Many
that's
years after.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's like, oh wow.
You know what I kind of equate it to? Mike Tyson's cameo in the Hangover movies.
That's
a
that's
bit-
true.
that's a weird
This is the Canadian hangover then.
Sure.
Wow.
Sure. I mean, like,
That maybe this feels like it might be the Canadian Hangover Part 3. Like
I don't know.
just
It-
not in
it
terms
is-
of where it is.
It is like
chronologically,
in the
but
vein of
quality-wise.
those like frat boy comedies like Super Troopers and
Sure.
Anchorman or whatever.
Yeah.
But those are good movies.
Funny
Yeah,
movies.
funny movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Hangover Part 3, that's what this is.
that's what this is. Okay, so
All right, well, for lack of anything else to say, let's take a break and let's watch the movie Out Here. And then when we come back, we'll tell you about what happened in the movie Out Here.
Ooh, stay tuned.
Yeah.
And we're back. We're back from our refreshing.
You can wait till I'm in the room.
Oh, fine. And we're back.
And we're back.
From the refreshing glaciers of Fernie.
We're back. We're back from Fernie. We're, the real world.
Yeah.
That was just a complete piece of shit, you guys. The worst
I
I've seen in a
was
long
expecting nothing, and it delivered.
Mm-hmm.
It truly delivered. We've watched a handful of terrible sex comedies
screwball
on this
comedies,
podcast before, right near the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Right near the bottom, unfortunately, because this is also the first one this is the first modern wacky screwball sex comedy that we've covered on the show.
Yeah,
it doesn't have the charm of the '80s ones.
You
want that like prime, like classic, like '80s date rape.
Yeah.
Like nowadays
Yeah.
it's just not as fun.
No.
It's just
No.
having sex with someone against their will just isn't as fun anymore as it used
No.
to be.
Can I just say also...
That's a sentence that I now have recorded in my voice. I'm going to keep it in. What were you saying?
The nerve to set a film in Fernie and then film during the summer because it's cheaper and have no snowboarding or like no skiing. There wasn't even a whiff.
Yeah.
Of
The
was
DVD
some-
cover
yeah.
has
Yeah.
them standing in the middle of a
Yeah.
snowy field surrounded by snowy glaciers.
There was the only snow in the film was the musician Snow. Which just
That's why they
seems-
got him, because there was a lack of snow in the movie.
Yeah, that's true.
And some personal assistant would just like misread the memo.
Yeah.
And then once Snow said yes, it was too hard.
well, we got to do something with
yeah.
them, and we got this flare gun.
Yeah, light snow on
My
fire.
uncle's got a voice box.
I genuinely was not expecting Snow to be one of my favorite parts of that
He
movie.
was
That was great. That was a
fantastic.
good
Yeah.
cameo.
That is, like we were saying, like that is a good use of like having a celebrity get in a cameo where like they're just the butt of every joke. You know, like every other of one of these like celebrity get cameos, they like help the protagonist out of a jam. In this, like, no, he almost dies.
Yeah. But
he's the butt of a couple of jokes.
He doesn't even get an entrance, right? Like he's in a scene, but he's just like asleep in the back. Like he's like the scene is framed so you can see
Yeah.
that
You can
see
Snow
him.
is asleep.
yeah.
And then the actors just talk around him for
For-
like a long time.
Yeah, until he like moves his head, I would have thought he was a cardboard cutout.
I know. I thought like, oh, they said that they got Snow, but then they actually have someone else playing. Like just
Yeah.
like there's like
Oh
a
yeah,
man.
don't look too hard at him. That's him, all right. Though.
I mean,
that's
that's
him.
real Snow.
They could have just as easily have done that because none of us know what Snow looks like, right?
Right.
Like even Snow in his prime, when you go back and you remember the music video for Informer, it looks like he does in this. He
Yeah.
had a hat and dark glasses on. So really,
could
what
conceivably
does
be
Snow
anybody.
look like? It could be anyone. Snow could be out there walking amongst us right now, and we have no idea.
One of you guys could be Snow.
I like it, boom, boom, down
Yeah,
to
It's not you. It's
Jamaica.
not you.
We got the next best thing, Kaz.
No, we do not.
Go over the
No,
plot.
no, I didn't.
Oh my
All
god.
right, so we go over the
Yeah.
plot here a little
Yeah.
bit here. All right, so basically the movie is about this Toronto yuppie who's basically his entire existence is to be a punching bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the first like couple of minutes of the movie, like he is getting like a fat guy has a heart attack on him and then he gets farted in his face.
Farted
a
right
woman
in
who's
the face.
breastfeeding like shoots like the breast milk into
All
his,
over his face.
His boss treats him like shit. Like
Yeah, she's always
he's got
sexually harassing him.
Yeah, he's got like this shrill girlfriend that is in every one of these kind of movies.
Screaming all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, but everything that you just said, though, that sounds like easy sort of just like throwaway jokes. Every one of those things happens for way longer than it should.
Yeah.
So he's this yuppie, and his boss wants to send him on this job or something that takes him back to his hometown, and his coworker is gonna do it, but his coworker is a big fat guy, and right at the beginning, he has a heart attack on a toilet, and then through a series of
wacky complications,
he manages to fall on top of Adam, our protagonist, so that his hairy, naked ass is right in his face, and then the next, I swear to God, like 10 minutes of the movie is just this poor man being farted on.
A surprising amount of this film took place under this fat man.
Yes.
I was surprised by that.
This movie is very fascinated in asses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it has an ass fixation.
Yeah, and like this dude had a heart attack, but did not stop farting. Like, so he's...
That's how you knew
it was a fart attack.
That's how you knew he was still breathing.
It was really a fart attack.
They needed to hold a small mirror up to his asshole just to see if he was still breathing.
Yeah.
I mean, see, I can write jokes for this movie.
You need a job at Grip Marketing.
Really, every fart was a relief because you knew he was still alive. Like,
There's still signs of life in him.
He's still farting, so I think this dude's going to pull through.
So that evil boss of his, the evil, horny boss...
who must have, like, a sexual harassment file on her at HR, like this thick, like a phone book.
That was wild to see it. That's Karen Conoval. She's,
you were blown away when you saw her name.
That's really cool. She's an amazing actor and artist. I was recently at the Fire Hall over in Vancouver, and she actually has a showing of a bunch of her art up there right now. Oh, cool. She's probably best known. She's really well known in the Vancouver theater scene, but she's probably best known to other people. She's in the Andy Serkis Planet of the Apes movies. She's Maurice the orangutan.
Oh, she did like mocap.
Yes,
and stuff?
she does. She's learned how to do all that mocap, and
cool.
I've been following her on social media for a couple of years, and she makes all these lovely posts about her orangutan friends because she took the role really seriously, and she went to meet all of these orangutans and spend time with them, and they're delightful posts, and they fill me full of joy. She seems like a lovely lady.
And then you see her in this movie, and she's an awful bitch,
horrible piece of shit movie where she's like sexually harassing people, and like
she sees the fat guy who has a heart attack, and her reaction is, great. Hey,
she sexually harassed him at the start. Like, when you meet her, harassing him as he's bent over the coffee machine.
Yeah, and she's emasculating all these men around her. Yeah.
And then, I mean, obviously, then he dies on the toilet or whatever. But like, I felt bad for him. I feel like he got a bad. Like that actor had a rough go, right? Like
all of the actors in this had a rough. I mean, like this guy especially. Yeah.
You know.
Well, what this is this movie is an equal opportunity. In terms of exploiting actors, because there was all the women in the movie who would just like rip their shirts off and drop trow for like
randomly,
super
times.
Randomly, but it's all like, you know what, we need to make this a little more even, so let's just have like 5 uninterrupted minutes of hairy man ass, and then that's evil. That's
eat your
equal
vegetables, and then we'll get to the dessert, guys.
Yeah. Is the dessert in this metaphor a big steaming pile of...
I think what I'm trying to say is that, like, I'm not a huge fan of gross out humor, but I'm kind of happy that
Why the hell did you watch this movie twice then?
Once to see if it was good for the podcast, and then the other time for the podcast. I want to go back in time. I want to shrink wrap this DVD case again, take it back to the liquor store.
Do you remember which liquor store it was?
Yes. I want to see if that clerk is still there. I want to hand this back to him, and then I want to punch him in the face.
This was garbage.
Yeah, remember me?
Yeah, like 12 years later or whatever.
You like walk in, it's all like, hey, July 2012. Hey, how's it going, buddy?
And you're the guy who took the DVD.
You're the one guy.
So Adam's got to go back to Fernie to sort of make this real estate deal go through.
Explain the real estate deal, because I've seen the entire movie now, and I kind of understand what he was supposed to do.
Well, okay, so as I understand it, a rich guy wants to develop Fernie, but he can't develop all of Fernie unless he can also develop over Waxopolis.
Did he want to develop all of Fernie, or just
that
one
big valley?
He's got all kinds of plans, but first you're gonna have to move Waxopolis and obviously scare several old people off their land with fake Sasquatch.
Yes,
so
as you do.
But what they decide to do is they send this dude out there with a piece of paper that he's going to file at City Hall that will allow them to get around some zoning.
Yes.
Yeah. Clearly, the marketing team that made this did not do any research into.
Into how land developments work?
Why do you gotta hand deliver it to the town hall? Like, why not?
It's like in 2012. They don't have mail.
They don't have PDF attachments or anything.
Yeah.
Well, we know that there's email within this world because they say a character emailed pictures of his dick to another person later on in the movie. So email does exist.
Maybe at that point, email is just for.
There's a character who makes a big point of he just got high speed internet.
Oh,
so did Fernie just get internet?
Maybe.
But it's just in Waxopolis.
Yeah, just in Waxopolis. Yeah. So speaking of Waxopolis, Waxopolis is it's like a ski waxing business. Ski and
snowboard.
It's a wax business across the board.
Yeah, it is now. Like during the
not
off
just the snowboard.
Yeah,
but
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, during the off season, he to make extra money. Theo, the proprietor, he waxes. He gives girls the Brazilian.
He's waxing the
downstairs,
undercarriages and whatnot,
and candles and other wax related business.
But
which totally explains later on when a woman just walks into Waxopolis and just immediately removes her pants in front of three men that she's never met before because that happens. That's how we do at Waxopolis.
And then delivers rapid fire with no pacing. 8 jokes about unkempt pubis.
Yeah.
It's too many jokes.
Sorry to interrupt. I have this situation. Look at this. It's ridiculous, and I have a date tonight.
What happened? I kind of like it.
Are you kidding me? It looks like a Viking is eating a tulip.
How did this happen? This isn't my wax job. It's barbaric. It looks like you have buckwheat and a leg lock.
I feel like there's an Ewok trying to sell a bearskin rug to my labia. It's more like an old man choking on a Persian cat. More like Sasquatch trying to play a small accordion.
Yeah.
It's too many.
I get it, because it's the whole 40-year-old virgin mentality thing of a whole bunch of people sitting around and just sort of riffing.
Yeah.
But the difference there is that the people in that movie are genuinely talented at riffing, and that's why they built those scenes around it. And also, they spread the riffs out in that movie. So there's that scene with the 3 dudes on the couch, and then the girl comes in, and she just starts doing a 5-minute stand-up set about her hairy vagina, and it's
we get it,
but spread the love around. Give Adam one of the quips. Give the black friend who I'm just realizing I did not write down what his name was.
No, did he have a name? He was the black friend.
He was the black friend.
He
really
had
was.
a name. Yeah, I think it was Jason, but
it didn't. It didn't matter. That guy was. Wow.
Yeah.
This film.
It was Jason. Yes.
Jason. Oh,
he was barely a person in this film. That was troubling.
Yeah. His whole shtick was that he is really promiscuous and will sleep with any woman.
Just classic.
It's a dumb sex comedy. So you have the loser main character who's got a shrew girlfriend, and everyone shits on him.
And he's sexless until
you have
he
the
decides.
sex buddy, and then you have the fat buddy. So it's they were working with paint by numbers screenplay, really.
It's true.
The screenwriting process in this movie, 5 people wrote this fucking movie.
It was a marketing team that watched a bunch of frat comedies and then decided we need this scene, we need that scene, and then we'll just have the actors ad-lib.
And the rest of the time, it was just them coming up with double entendres.
Yeah,
for
and
things.
jokes for pubes.
This movie is 80% entendre.
It is. Yeah, it's lots of entendre.
So he files the injunction or whatever, and then finds out that his old buddy Theo's going to lose his Waxopolis business. So now they got to put on a party or something to save the business from going under.
But they did not ever show anyone paying to attend this party.
That was a problem at the end. Yeah. Well, but there were lots of scenes in the movie that you think would naturally make their way in there, and then they just don't end up.
Yeah, there's a bunch of scenes missing from this movie.
Yes. This movie's...
They need a pot of money. There should be, at some point, they just cut to the big pot of money and someone throws some more money in the pot and then you're like, they're saving the place.
Easy
with
thing to have.
money.
Yeah, it's the cornerstone of any let's save the community center type plot point here is, yes, jar of money that you pass around. But no, that's not in there. So, yeah,
No.
for all intents and purposes, Waxopolis is doomed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they forgot.
They accomplished nothing.
Yeah. But they had to do that because they omitted all those scenes because they had to make room for the subplot involving the two Rangers, Fresh and Glacier.
Yes.
Like, you remember those guys from the commercials.
I don't.
They had to go and they were the Rangers' replacement, and I guess around that time they were like the hot ticket, so they gotta.
Oh, they weren't the hot ticket. No one remembers.
Yeah.
Fresh and
So
Glacier.
here's the thing. I did a little research before I came to the show today. So after they killed the Kokanee Ranger, they had a contest to figure out who the next sort of spokesperson for the Kokanee Ranger was, and they had like a whole series of these commercials, and they had Facebook pages for all of the characters, and there was like a whole bunch of characters that they went through. Some of the characters included Ma Ranger, who was Kokanee Ranger's mother. There was Michael Bay Street, who was a Gordon Gekko-like stock trader. There was Corey, a ski instructor from the 80s. And then there's my personal favorite, Beer Fridge 2.0, which is just a beer cooler with a lock on it.
Beer now.
Mr. Butler Troll, right?
Yeah.
No, it's just a beer cooler with a lock on it.
Beer,
that's how
beer.
that's how we stop the because if we didn't pontificate earlier on, the whole point of these commercials, it's essentially like the whole sugar bear formula. Yeah. Sasquatch wants the Kokanee, and the Ranger tries to stop him from getting the Kokanee, but the Sasquatch always gets the Kokanee at the end because he can't get enough of that Kokanee.
Silly Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Kokanee's for adults. And
But the winners of this contest apparently were Glacier and Fresh, and the runner-up was the Glacier Goat. And I really,
narrowly beat up. What a what a heated contest.
I really wanted to find, the commercials for all of these characters. I typed all of these names into Google before I came to the show today. I can't find shit on any of them. I can't find
no Glacier fucking goat. Don't lie to me here in this podcast.
And if there is, that goat is long dead.
It was never a Glacier goat. You guys are pulling my leg.
But then Glacier and Fresh show up in this movie. So
and
they were a
and
thing.
Prominently. They are
they're prominent
they're
characters.
investigating like all these like Sasquatch appearances.
Yeah.
And there's
if Kokanee had made this movie a little earlier in the process, this is obviously the role that the Kokanee Ranger would have. Instead, he just gets like an ethereal cameo
I'll get to that in a second.
from beyond the grave.
So like the only thing notable about Glacier and Fresh is that whichever one it is, he has a girlfriend who is unfaithful, and they're like
that's Glacier.
Glacier, yeah. His running gag is that like everyone in town knows his girlfriend.
Say hi to Kathy.
Say hi to Kathy for me. Yeah. That led to a couple of good. I did.
There were a couple of funny say hi to Kathy's.
Yeah.
I did like Tech Guy Gord. That was pretty funny. That was well done.
Oh, hey, Glacier.
Yeah.
Say hi to Kathy for me.
No, you know Kathy.
Do I know Kathy? She's a friend of a friend. It's a neighbor. Tell her hi from Gord. Gord from the lab. She lost my dog. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you say lab Gord, too, not R&D Gord. That's a different guy. My nickname's Horse.
There were so many, because he just had a bunch of ad-libs in a row there because they didn't cut quickly enough. But he had just been like, tell her that Horse from the lab says hi.
Yeah.
And then just moved right along. That would have been very funny.
But they just kept the camera rolling because this movie's only an hour and a half, and they needed to pad that running time.
Yeah, with like a lot of ad-libs that went nowhere. Just like kind of bad riffing.
Yeah, it really makes you appreciate guys like Seth Rogen and Will Ferrell, like people who are really clever and good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it makes you appreciate editors that recognize when a movie should only be 80 minutes.
Well, I think this came out like right at the height of all those Judd Apatow comedies, so I guess like all these screenwriters figure like, this is what people love. This is what comedy writing is
People
now.
will clearly mistake this for a Judd Apatow movie.
That's true.
Let's talk about the two brothers. The sort of like the local antagonist, like the jock bully and his dim-witted brother.
Right, like the Deuces, right? They're
the Deuce brothers.
Mike Deuce.
The Deuce brothers.
So they're
in the bar and they're talking. They're talking to he's just met like the love interest, and then puffy vest wearing villain bro walks in with his mouth breathing younger brother, who was great. Who I'm just gonna say is the film's MVP. I loved him. He was fantastic.
His choices to just like stay on camera just a little bit longer. Like choosing not to miss his cue, or just like use props interestingly in the background. Like there's one scene where like he puts a straw like to his neck instead of actually drinking. Like little background jokes like that.
The dude, he just takes like a hair too long to like exit the scene. Like that dude really knew how to make the most of all of his moment. I like that dude. I looked that guy up on IMDb while I was watching the movie. He's still working today. He was recently the stand-in for the on-set Sonic for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie that filmed here last year.
Whoa, no
So,
way.
So it went from like
Still
0
making-
miles an hour to
It still has never gotten a line. Like, no lines at all.
Yeah. So instead of the tennis ball on the stick, just imagine that dude in like a green, as like the Green Man.
Yeah.
They had to rebuild that Sonic because he had teeth, right? So
Because they made him look horrifying.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started on
and then
that.
the entire team who spent hours working on that all got fired before the movie
yeah,
came
for
out.
giving him teeth.
You happy about that, internet? They fixed the Sonic.
It's not that he had teeth that was so terrifying. It's that he had very human-looking teeth,
Yeah, they were
along
like-
with eyes that were too far away from his nose.
And like kind of human, realistic legs with like they were all sinewy.
Yeah,
It
they
looked
were
like a
all.
runner's
They had
leg.
like
It
they
was
had
a
like
little
muscle
weird.
dimension
like
on it.
Steve Prefontaine's legs.
Yeah,
Like,
but-
well, he's a runner, right? He should have.
But I fucking remember watching like the Mario Brothers movie in the 90s. So like you kids got it too easy these days. But yeah, so like those two brothers, they act as like the heavies of the main like bad guy, the industrialist who
Yep,
like
who's Gary Chalk, who's
Gary
their dad, who's also great.
he's great.
Like he's got like a fun little like running thing with like his like elderly manservant.
Yeah, he's eating panda brains.
He's eating panda brains. That was because he brings in a clearly toy panda. It's not they didn't even like remotely try to make it look like an actual panda bear.
Yeah.
And then he takes the top off of it and it looks like it's chocolate pudding, but then he's just like slowly feeding him slices of panda brain on a plate. It's delightful. Gary Chalk has 3 very short scenes. I could have done with far more Gary Chalk.
Yeah,
in
we
this
need
movie.
more Gary Chalk,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
But-
he didn't have to leave his like office penthouse or whatever the entire
No,
time.
they shot
That
all
was
of
a
Gary
day.
Chalk in one day.
Yeah,
they got
that's
they
a
got Gary Chalk for an afternoon, easily. Going back to the Bully Brothers, though, the next time I'm meeting a group of friends in a bar or a public area, I am absolutely going to come from a distance, and then when I get closer, go.
Well.
I was disappointed that he didn't enter every scene
Every
that
scene.
way.
Yeah.
Like after that first, because it was a great well to
Yeah.
start, and
Yeah.
it was kind of the peak of that character.
Yeah,
for
he had
me.
he had the strut right, and
Yeah.
like he had the one gag that they did kept going back to the well with for him was that he would have like really dumb and juvenile insults.
Well, it isn't the 2 testicles. Listen to me, douche nozzle. Funny one, cum plow. Hello, colon cleansers. Where the fuck did you blood farts get a permit? It's a jizz napkins.
He used napkin a lot.
Yeah, he did.
He
a lot
kept
of people were jizz
he
napkins.
like it was always like a hyphenated insult. I swear to God, like that second word was like napkin like a couple of times. Like, what's
Yeah.
up, fart napkins?
Yeah, he
what's up,
said-
cum napkins?
This little lawyer's snatch napkin is putting shit in your head.
They need to throw a party to save the thing.
Yep.
And they do, and that's the movie.
I mean, we
really.
want to like even bring up that like the bad guys try to stop them by scheduling a Snow concert on the same day so no one will go, but then Snow gets involved in a terrible flare gun accident.
It's really funny. I was
Burns
really
for hours.
Yeah.
He's like on fire. It is daytime. It's daytime when they shoot him with a flare gun.
That shot of them pushing him in the
nighttime.
the shot where they're pushing him in the shopping cart and leaving him in front of the emergency room with the lit flare song was
burning flare. Like he's not. It's not even fire. Like the flare is still going.
Yeah.
And it's nighttime.
Yeah.
It would have burned right through his face at
He
that
doesn't-
point.
He has no marks. He needs to speak
No,
through
he's
like
just-
a robot
Yeah,
thing.
because I guess I guess it damaged his larynx.
Yeah.
I suppose.
point blank shot to the vocal cords.
It's good to know he can just like walk off a flare gun to the fucking face like that.
Yeah, and I was impressed that even after taking a flare gun to the trach, he still had that reggaeton flow.
Oh, from the second he shows up again and he starts talking with that voice box, you know the movie is going to end with him singing Informer, but like
With a voice box.
Yeah, the voice box, and you get absolutely no points for guessing. I was predicting everywhere this movie was going to go, and I rewarded myself 0 points for being able to figure out where it was going, because this movie's terrible!
Again, you should be a screenwriter for Grip.
I feel like he didn't deserve to have to sing one song over and over, because when he's sleeping, he's singing Informer in his sleep.
Yeah.
Chris, he's singing in his sleep.
Dude, this is like a private concert.
And then at the end of the movie, he sings
he should have sang one of his other hits.
He should have sang "Everybody Wants to Be Like You." Do you remember that song?
Sure
Everybody
don't.
wants to be like you. Shibbity dibbity dibbity.
Sure don't.
It's great.
I'll take your word for this one, Harrison.
But she's all alone. And
I know you're not making it up though, because you said the lyric "shibbity dibbity." Yeah, and that sounds like
any
Snow,
other
yeah.
artist you would.
Yeah,
I would
any
have
other
sworn
lyric
you were
I'd be all
making it
like,
up, but
that checks out.
yeah,
Snow
that's
says
reggae
shibbity-dibbity.
fusion for you.
We all agree.
That's Canadian reggae fusion for you. Okay, so
Can I just say, I would be more than happy with a Snow resurgence if it meant that Magic died and never came back to life.
Yeah, bring back Snow. Send
Look,
Magic away.
I just, to go off on like a brief tangent here, like, there's been like that joke for years about, with Canadians and everything about like, like we go abroad and stuff like, it's all like, haha, we apologize for Bryan Adams. It's all like, oh yeah, Bryan Adams, everything. I've never really had strong feelings one way or the other about Bryan Adams, but I feel like the way the world makes fun and associates Bryan Adams with like shitty Canadian stuff is the way I feel about Magic.
Yeah.
Magic is the worst fucking thing to happen to Canada.
Are they a Canadian band?
They are.
Ugh. I don't
That's what
understand-
Canadian reggae sounds like now.
I don't
Bring back
understand,
more Snow. Thank
like,
you.
How often? Because it's very rare that like a black reggae artist has like a popular hit in Canada.
Yeah.
But like
It
Snow,
sounds like- that sounds like
Bedu and
incredibly-
Soundclash,
Oh,
Magic,
yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
it happens fairly often that like one of these white bands has a reggae hit. You'd get the sense if you lived in Canada that reggae is dominated primarily by white East Coast Canadians.
Well, as we found out in the movie, Snow is huge in Fernie.
Fernie specifically.
They make a joke about like the main guy Adam says like, is Snow even like, who cares about Snow? And they're like, Snow is huge here, man. Like, and he's like, really? No joke. Yeah.
I feel like they had a chance there to point out that like.
But I don't know if that was a joke or not.
Yeah,
like,
right. Like this is like a snow town. This is like a ski resort town. So when they're like, snow is a big deal in Fernie, like
is that what they mean?
There
Or
should be like that's a wordplay.
or is this a scripted joke at Snow the artist's expense?
Yeah.
That he's a big deal in this small rural town.
Yeah, it was really unclear what they were going for.
The fact that they said Snow is huge in Fernie is like the only thing in this movie that I will take at absolute face value.
Yeah.
Like,
but again,
that is the one universal truth.
The Snow itself or Snow the performer.
Yeah.
Performer.
Okay, so for their part,
I am still gobsmacked that there's no snow in this movie. And I don't, none. There's no ski.
there's a guy who runs a ski waxing business.
But there's no
named
skiing,
Snow.
there's no snowboarding. I thought this was going to be like a callback to like one of like our like raunchy ski movie that we did like last year. No, there's no winter sports. There's no, it looks like it was filmed in the middle of like fucking August.
We were having Kokanee like during the screening, and I'm looking at the Kokanee can now. There is like a glacier on the fucking can.
Yeah.
They are
Because it's
identifiably
glacier fresh Kokanee.
like the characters in the movie.
It's the beer out here.
I feel like Fernie got screwed. Like the city of Fernie needs to advertise its ski resorts,
Yeah.
right? Like but there wasn't any of that. But maybe it's because it's a Kokanee commercial. It's not a commercial for Fernie, so
it's not a travel ad
Yeah,
for
just
a visit
forget
Fernie,
that idea.
where they filmed the hit movie, The Movie Out Here.
They still got a BC tax credit for it, though. I saw that in the credits. They didn't advertise Fernie, the ski resort town, at all. The only thing they said about Fernie that was even remotely positive is that Fernie loves the music of snow.
So if you're a fan, make that pilgrimage over to
A
Fernie.
lot of people moved to Fernie after this movie
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah.
So for the party, they need to get beer. So they call in like they call the cold beer and wine store. They say, we need all the Kokanee you have. And the guy says, oh, the truck was derailed. Or it was like,
This is a huge issue that I have with this movie, and it seems like a small thing, but like, so he first off, he calls, what is it? It's Theo, right? Yeah, Theo calls his buddy at the liquor store and says, hey, I'm going to need all the kokanee that you have for this party. And, like, we've been to, like, a couple of bars before, so, like, this isn't the first time kokanee has come up. In the movie, we see people drink kokanee. There's kokanee signs in the back. This is the first time I believe it's mentioned by name as a central plot point in this movie that was produced and written by Kokanee. So yeah, he calls his buddy at the liquor store and says, hey, I need all the Kokanee for the party. And the guy says, like, oh, the Kokanee truck went missing. Us as the viewer naturally know Sasquatch is up to his old tricks.
That wily Sasquatch.
Oh, it's stealing coconut.
But then he says,
fucking alcoholic.
I guess I'll have to go to the other liquor store in Cranbrook.
Yes.
And they go, get another beer.
Yeah.
I understand that you're the Kokanee movie, but in real life, if you're out of one thing for your party, also, if you're throwing a huge party, don't get one brand of beer. Get all the beers.
This was after the big...
Get variety. Get all of the beers.
This is clearly after the big beer wars, where, like, the only brands left standing was Kokanee.
But it isn't,
yes,
because
true.
after this scene, I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh, what this movie presupposes is that in this world, Kokanee is the only beer.
Kokanee
yes,
is beer.
it is. It's like you say, it's like Demolition Man. All restaurants are Taco Bell. All beer is Kokanee. But later on,
what a shitty reality. Kokanee's great.
Jason the Lothario says, like, I'm going to sleep with a whole bunch of women, and I'm going to get them to pay me in beer. And then, like, later on at the party, we see, like, well, it kind of works. He gets, like, a handful of beers. But it's all different beers. There's, like, a Beck's and a Budweiser, so that theory goes
and, like,
completely...
some Kokanee with it, too. I will give Kokanee this credit. I was expecting this to be, like, a huge, like, pro-Kokanee propaganda kind of movie.
Yeah.
And yet, like, Kokanee...
It is, sort of.
It is.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where, like, they include other beer, and they don't, like, poo-poo it. Like, someone doesn't,
They do, though. They're like, this isn't what we wanted.
But Kokanee
we wanted
was
a
in...
big truck of Kokanee.
But there was only one 6-pack, so it wasn't enough to go around the entire party.
Yeah,
right.
and let's
Which I think was the bigger
too,
point.
Like, Kokanee saves the day.
That
in
was
this
it,
movie,
yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
the party is not going to go off.
Yeah.
Everyone's sad. This dude's not going to get with the girl that they introduced at the beginning of the
Catherine
movie.
Isabel, who's in a thankless fucking role that she's knocking out of the park.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she really seemed
You
like
lied to me.
like a person from Fernie. I was really impressed. Like, she had that kind of, like, the drawl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was great. But, and then suddenly, at the end, the truck rolls up, and it's full of Kokanee.
Well,
Packed to the gills with Kokanee.
Yeah.
So much Kokanee that it's like you open the truck from the back, and it's like Kokanee. You can't even see
Right up to-
any
well,
open part of the truck.
Not strapped down for travel,
No.
you know? Like,
No, it's packed so full you didn't need to. It's like a...
So we got to talk about this. So the origin of the Kokanee truck that saves the day, saves the party, does have an origin, and it has the story that we see over the course of the movie. We should spend some time talking about that, because that's a whole rabbit hole that goes down.
Trace the truck for me. Where did the truck?
So in Cranbrook, Adam confesses to Theo that, like, it was his business firm that is, like, planning to develop the land, and in fact it was he who hand-delivered the notice that was going to make it happen. He's apologizing. Theo, storms off. He's going to hitch home on his...
Even though that seemed to be his car.
Yes. So he decides to walk home or whatever, and on his way he decides to go through the bush, and he has some berries, which cause indigestion. On his...
Indigestion and then hallucinations.
Yes,
I
but
don't
not
think there
before
were any hallucinations. That was a real love connection he had with Sasquatch.
Well, so like, there's a lot to even just.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So before, like,
charitably, the remainder of this podcast will be just talking about this one.
Before he goes on that fucking trip, he stumbles across a Kokanee commercial being shot within this Kokanee commercial.
Fucking meta!
Yeah, right. And it's the Kokanee commercial starring Marty McSorely
as Sasquatch with a mask. So why
you wouldn't even know it was him?
Yeah, one of the models in the commercial is saying, like, "Oh, he's trying to get his acting career off of the ground."
Great fucking start.
Yeah.
You're
get seen,
a famous hockey player, dude. Like,
I guess we saw the commercial during the ending credits, which was him having a pillow fight, and he didn't have the mask on. So I guess we could tell it was Marty McSorely.
Was his plan was to play Sasquatch without the mask?
Without the mask. And then that would jumpstart.
Is
that his plan to, like, rehabilitate his image?
to become
like this mythical beast
Did it work
that
out for him?
steals beer.
Is Marty McSorely now well respected?
Yeah, he just won an Oscar for his work in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
How did I not remember that? I watched that,
Yeah,
and I don't remember that happening.
He was the Brad Pitt character.
It was the Brad Pitt character. That's right. That's wow. What a good actor.
Yeah, he really disappeared into the role.
He really
so much that
disappeared into
Brad
the
Pitt
role.
really
Yeah,
did an Oscar
I could have
for-
sworn it was Brad Pitt. But
Marty
no,
McSorley is Brad Pitt.
Yeah, that's
the wife killer,
The level of
the
acting.
alleged wife killer.
Spoilers for something, maybe. I don't know.
So the bikini.
He's talking
babes
about
in-
Marty McSorley.
Okay.
So the
For his
bikini
wife.
babes in the commercial point Theo towards like the porta potties for the commercial, and on his way there,
Yeah, he walks for hours through the woods.
Because he's following Sasquatch, who he
Looking for a
thinks...
porta
because he
potty.
mistakes the real Sasquatch for Marty McSorley, so he just follows him up a fucking mountain.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. He leaves because he has to poo-poo, and he's all like, I really need to find the porta potty really badly. But then he sees the real Sasquatch, assumes it's Marty, and it's just like, hey, Marty, wait up. And he completely forgets that he's about to shit his pants.
Yeah, he actually doesn't poo.
No,
at
he
all
doesn't.
For the rest of the
Or maybe
film.
it was like a horse, like he just went as he kept going.
No, the other guy was horse.
And that's,
Tech Gord
yeah.
was horse.
From the
Yeah.
lab.
From
Yeah,
the
yeah.
lab Gord. I don't know why I keep
Tell
saying
Kathy
Tech.
says hi.
Yeah, and then in quick succession, this was really wild. The editing in this was really wild. So he follows Sasquatch all the way back to his cave. The cave is full of delicious, crisp Kokanee beer.
And boxes.
Boxes and boxes
Yeah.
of it.
Laid out, logo out.
Sasquatch reveals himself. And so, yeah, Theo's standing there. He's in the cave. He's holding up like a lighter to illuminate everything. Sasquatch gets closer. He closes the lighter, so everything is just like shrouded in darkness. Cut to like a love montage.
Yeah, like a soft focus
of
love
like
montage.
of like
Like lifted direct from Tenacious D in The Pick of Destiny,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the whole
yeah.
Sasquatch
Come to
romance.
think of it,
they're,
yeah.
they're hand in hand. They're
Yeah.
like frolicking in the fields.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, the Sasquatch, hi. Sasquatch is my daddy. Sorry. And then, it cuts to them like spooning in bed.
Mm-hmm.
And then before we know it, Theo is now outside and he's being visited by the ghost of the Kokanee Ranger. And
you
this
skipped
all...
over an important plot point.
Did I?
Yeah. So it's not just that there's a little romance montage. It's that it comes so abruptly that like you immediately suspect that maybe Sasquatch is violating Theo.
Yeah, of course.
And then when it cuts to them spooning in bed, Theo looks at the camera and goes, "Ah!"
Well, no, he goes like, oh, like Sasquatch has
Sasquatch
just
is, like,
slipped
has
in
just
it.
has slipped
entering
one in
him.
him while
Yeah.
he's, yeah.
So like, yeah, it's not just that like they go on a little fun hike together and then he wakes up.
No, I
in love.
Sasquatch
Yeah.
and this man.
Yeah, no, I understood the symbolism.
Maybe.
I'm just saying that it was filmed poorly. All I'm saying is that this movie is terrible,
Yeah.
and it doesn't know how to show its jokes.
Yeah, no, it
You
does
know?
explain-
This was
the
made
movie
by a
ends-
marketing company to fucking sell a brand
Yeah,
of
but you know what a
beer.
marketing company does? It can tell a story within like 60 seconds
Yeah.
in a way that the consumer can understand it.
Brevity is the soul of wit.
Yeah.
And this is witless. Yeah.
This was an excuse for them to fucking swear in a commercial and to tell a lot of shit and dick jokes.
Yeah. This and have like actual pornography. Like there was
Yeah,
Yes!
there's actual, honest to God, P and V in this movie.
So like they
This was funny though. This was actually
was
a
actually
really
one
funny
of the-
joke.
yeah,
funniest
so like
jokes, yeah.
like they're so Adam and the love interest what is her name? Danielle or whatever? Denise?
Catherine Isabel.
Catherine and Isabel are having like
Ginger snaps.
They're having like a nice tender moment in the coffee shop, and then breaking news: Canadian legend Snow has been like released.
Shot in the throat with a flare gun.
More news later, but and
His big concert in Fernie is canceled.
Yeah.
That's what they said.
the
on
nation
the
weeps.
news.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
a day of mourning as far as Fernie is concerned.
And then the button to that is like,
Up next, are newscasts using pornography to increase viewership?
And then they just show like
Full
on,
Brit-
like
Yeah.
hardcore pornography on the news.
it was insane.
Like we didn't collectively misremember that, right? There was a
No.
dick going in a vagina, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain.
This is
That was
surprising.
hardcore shit. That was the hardest core shit I've seen in a movie outside of like an actual porn movie.
You got this at a liquor store, you say?
Yes, I did.
I want to say, like, I remember when this was being advertised.
Yeah.
And, you know, they'd be like, this movie's raunchy and, like, it's not even rated. You know, and you think, like, movies would do that, and you'd like, you know, when I was younger, like, you'd go see a movie, like, oh, I hope this movie has boobs. Like, and then it wouldn't. And so I'm actually, like, I was interested when I was younger. Like, is this movie going to deliver on the promise of all of this inappropriate content that I can't get anywhere else? And it turns out it did. Like, I did not watch this movie when it came out.
No.
But, like, yeah, it had a lot of
It did.
inappropriate content.
And I think it's important to remember that we're clearly the wrong audience for this movie, but like somewhere out there are like
the movie out there
somewhere out there there are, you know, there's like a couple of like 12-year-olds who this movie has ended up in there, except maybe it doesn't because no one watches DVDs. Everything's all fucking weird and I'm old now and it doesn't make any sense. No
one watches the movie.
I'm fairly certain this movie isn't on any streaming platform.
The kids get their pornography from TikTok.
Yeah. So you know what? I'm going to abandon that thread that I was going to go down because this movie won't be any sort of awakening for any youngster out there because
I hope not.
No one will see this.
Yeah.
No one will see this. This is the first and last deep dive that anyone on the internet is going into the movie out here.
So I want to bring up that, like, you had mentioned, like, sort of in our introduction that, like, there is, like, a bit of, like, Christ parallels with, like, with the Ranger character. I love that you mentioned that because he comes back in this movie. It's the resurrection.
To deliver a message from beyond. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, it's like and he's kind of like, he's, you know, kind of glowing.
Yeah, he's got that halo backlit or whatever.
Yeah, it's a real transfiguration moment for the Ranger.
And he's just like, look at the truck.
There.
Who are you? I'm the one who watches over what goes on. What should I do? Look inside. My heart? No. My soul? Can I finish? Sorry. Look inside the Kokanee truck. It's parked by the lake.
He appears on the Mount of Olives next to Moses and Elijah. The disciples are obviously all completely overwhelmed.
Is it the Mount of Olives?
I think that's what it is. I might not. That's the name of one of the mountains.
In the Bible? Yeah. It's called the Mount of Olives?
I think so.
I'm just imagining just like it's just like one lounge lizard hanging out with like his like martini and just like, it's like, yeah, Jesus baby. Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, just like
grab one more from my Mound of Olives.
It's the Mound of Olives.
You get off the Mount of Olives. I got my commandments here. I'm trying to.
There's not a good footing on this mount here. Whoa. Slipping and sliding all over
very slippery.
The place. All right, so the evil developers go to Waxopolis and reveal the harsh truth to Catherine Isabel that Adam was like kind of responsible for this land they were
it's
going
this bullshit liar revealed thing,
but like
which shows up in every movie.
But, like, he's still being proactive and trying to save the business, so why the hell is she getting mad?
She got mad really fast.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, women are emotional.
Yeah,
and they can't, as been evidenced by all of the women characters in this movie.
Oh, his fiance is just awful. But, like, it's that stereotype
but
that's in all these
she's
movies.
meant to be.
Yeah.
The second we see her, she's, like, adorned in pink, and she's on the phone, and she's, like, screaming at him. It's all like, well, we know where this is going.
Did you get the impression that those two characters ever really loved each other?
Or met in real life and filmed their scenes at the same time?
Yeah.
No, I didn't get that sense.
It was purely like an audio-based relationship. They're always on the phone.
But, you know, when you're a yuppie and you work for a company, when you have a job, when you have a job in the city, you have to give up all sense of happiness. You know, you have to be married to the person that you're not in love with. You have to work at the job that you hate. You gotta do that. Yep. It changes you. It changes you into the type of person who you go into like one of like those like small town restaurants and you order a venti decaf mocha whatever. Yeah. This is embarrassment. Yeah.
The local ABC Family restaurant and order a cran apple scone. Do you sell cran apple scones here? I didn't look at your 30-page menu.
What
but
the hell?
This feels like a very Harris-specific story.
The hell is a cran apple?
How was your weekend, Harris?
You never, like, the ABC Family restaurant has the biggest, thickest menu. Like, it's just, it's like so many pages. And there'll be like a soup page, and then there's like a sandwich page, a salad page.
I mean, it's good to have options, but like that.
It's not good to have options.
I just want lunch.
If you're going to a restaurant and the menu is the size of a Stephen King novella, don't eat there because there's too much food and it's all going bad because they're not selling it.
Yeah,
that's a peek behind the industry there, folks.
So yeah, Adam eventually quits his job. He shows up at the party, and like the fucking day is saved when the beer truck shows up.
Quits his job and breaks up with his fiance
in a weird
montage.
A weird montage.
Yeah, like a cross-split montage where like you see both things kind of happening at the same time, even though there's no way that it could have happened at the same time.
You know what they probably did? They probably filmed those scenes independent of each other, and then they realized, well, this is just really repetitive, so they just kind of smashed the two together.
My theory is that because he quits his job by writing like "fuck you, Eleanor" on an envelope and then handing it to Eleanor, and that's not interesting. So I imagine that they were like, okay, well, so if he writes it on an envelope and hands it to her, like, we may as well put it in a montage. Like, it's not interesting.
We also never see him on the phone with his girlfriend when he's breaking up with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Or fiancé.
I did appreciate that they just skipped past that. Like,
yeah, because who cares? We don't need to see that garbage character again because we've already gotten that joke. We already understand what that's about.
What happened there was, like, the screenwriters, like, obviously forgot about her, and then they decided, like, let's just stitch, like, the scenes of her getting broken up with while we're doing his, like, quitting his job scene, and we'll call it a montage.
Yeah.
And we can fool him to think we're being artsy.
I'm genuinely surprised for a movie that, was financed by Kokanee and was written by the Kokanee marketing team. There's not as much Kokanee in this movie as I thought there was going to be.
Sasquatch stole it all. It shows up at the end to save the
But there's also not as much Sasquatch in this movie as I thought there was going to be. I thought it would be far more integral to the plot than it actually ended up being.
He's in the first joke. He gets kicked in the dick, like
that's
immediately.
Yeah, the scene that we thought was like wow, this is a kind of straight up horror sequence, and then he gets kicked in the balls. Like, oh right, it's a stupid frat boy comedy.
Right away. Yeah, and then he's obviously a lot of scenes that you think it's him. It's actually Marty McSorely.
What was that one scene where the Rangers like go to arrest him because they found like a hair sample from a Sasquatch's costume, and they assume well, the only one that's been rented out was made custom for Marty McSorley, and they go to arrest him, and he's like,
"Can I at least call my attorney again?"
Yeah, that was especially considering this takes place in British Columbia. As references go, I don't know that it was really the time to be like, it's Marty McSorley from The Assault of Donald Brashear. Do you guys remember that funny moment?
Remember that when he committed a hate crime? Yeah. Isn't that right? He's in our wacky movie now.
He's funny now. We like him.
Time heals all wounds.
Yep, except for the brain of Donald Brashear.
What they should have done, I think, anyway, is obviously have more Sasquatch in the movie. Have him be like the gopher in Caddyshack.
Yeah.
He sort of bookends scenes with the plot will be going on, and then we
they got the two dumb Rangers who are always on his tail,
cut briefly to Sasquatch shenanigans. Yeah, because the two Rangers are after Sasquatch the entire movie, but we never see them interact with him. Sasquatch is just in that one scene where he fucks Theo and steals the Kokanee. But
at the end of the movie.
So he should have been all throughout the movie, and then right at the very end of the party where everything comes together,
he crowd surfs or something.
The Rangers get Sasquatch, and then they have the moment, let's see who Sasquatch really is, and then they reveal it's Marty McSorley.
Yeah,
and it's Marty McSorley, you stole all the Kokanee? So I love crime,
don't you know about my history in this province? I'm always.
And then he grabs a stick and just starts.
He did take a slap shot and shoot Sasquatch's turds at a bad guy, which I thought was a redemptive moment.
He destroyed evidence, is what he did.
Yeah,
he did.
So that's where they could have pulled off the mask. Everyone could have done could have been Marty McSorley, and then Jason, the one black guy in the movie, goes, "Oh shit!" and then he runs.
You can't do that. You can't do that. Cut my laugh out. I laughed too hard. That's bad for my brand.
Okay, we got to be wrapping up now. What else? Oh, we got to talk about the bartender.
I was just going to bring up the bartender.
Oh, yeah.
This was really funny. This was a really good.
Yeah, this was like a scene out of like a Mr. Show sketch.
Yeah, like a different film. That scene was written by the weirdest member of this marketing team.
Yeah,
they were like, maybe you shouldn't do this because your style of humor is too dark. And he was
give me
like,
one scene.
One scene. One scene.
I'm asking one scene.
Yeah.
So at the low point in Adam's path here, he's just been exposed as a liar. His friends have abandoned him. He goes to a bar alone, and the bartender is the sage bartender wisdom.
Another one? Yeah, thanks. I don't mean to ask a cliched bartender question. Why the long face?
Got a lot going on. Really let down some friends.
Sorry to hear that, brother. Do you ever think about, I don't know, maybe killing yourself?
What? No. Why?
Just saying, if things are that bad, why not? You look like shit, to be honest. If it was me, I'd probably just get it over with.
Oh. Reverse psychology, a little bartender wisdom.
No.
Oh.
Seriously. Just go in the washroom. No one's around. I'll come get the gun after I hear the shot. It'll confuse the hell out of the cops.
Really good running
It's a
joke.
it's a
really
good
solid.
scene. It's a
That-
great funny
That
bit.
actor really sells it.
Yeah, I like when he gets the plastic out. Like,
Yeah.
I'll lay down some plastic.
It's the problem, the gun. Like, I got this noose here too, if you want. And then
It's
Adam's
good.
no, like things aren't that bad, man. Like I gotta go.
It's good classic under-the-counter humor. It reminds me of my favorite Simpsons joke of all time, which I know is saying a lot, but every time I think about it, it's like, what is my favorite Simpsons joke? I really think it is this one. It's where Barney gets the Yoko Ono girlfriend,
I thought you
and then they go to Moe's, and it's all like, what do you have? I'll have a beer. I'll have a single plum floating in perfume in a man's hat. And then Moe just reaches under the bar, and they're both readily available. I'm just... That's comedy. That is fucking comedy.
A really good joke. One of the best jokes.
And I guess the other thing we didn't even mention the Asian friend.
Ah, yes.
The spiritual.
Should we?
I mean,
spirit-
he's in the movie.
The spiritual guru
of Theo.
who is just robbing him blind.
Yeah, he's
and,
clearly
and,
just like
Just
scamming.
jerking off in the back.
and masturbating all over his
He got
bed.
him this. He told him like it'll be like a spiritual awakening for you if you get high speed internet. But really, all he uses it for is to like get out of your house. I'm gonna masturbate.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use your internet to jerk off.
The one thing that I will give this movie, the one point, is that there is a location called Waxopolis, and then there's an Asian character in the movie, and they did not do...
Not even once.
Not even once. Would have been so easy. Would have been so easy for this movie to do a wax-on, wax-off joke, and they didn't go there. So you know what? Tiniest gold star.
Yeah.
Those big, you get like the pack of stickers from the dollar store, and there's like stars of varying sizes. Movie out here, you get the smallest one.
Yeah, like I definitely don't want to applaud this movie for its like
For not making
forward-
racist jokes.
Yeah, like they're very progressive.
Very
'Cause
high bar.
They did not do well with Jason. Was his name? Maybe?
Yeah, sure.
But certainly allowing the guru to never say wax on, wax off. I think that was good for them. Good for them.
Good for them.
I
And
guess
for that,
he
one
does
star.
help like identify the two Jock brothers as the people who broke into Waxopolis at one point.
Well, right? He
Because-
proves useful. In
Yeah,
that.
because like he
He
sees
helped
them.
save the day. Sure, why not?
Yeah, but that's only because like he's in the house jerking off, and he's like, I don't care what you guys do, just like keep it down or
Then
whatever.
it turns out he did care.
Yeah.
Snitches in the end. Very uncool.
Yeah. Well, I see we're boring Harris. It is
Really
late though.
It's really late.
All right. Yeah. Is there anything else?
Going down my notes here, and I just like there was a point here where I was just like writing down like the various insults that people were saying. Like I'm gonna feed you some oats.
I like that one. a
I'll
lot.
suck your dick off.
Yeah.
License to print vaginas. I don't even remember what that
Right.
one
That
was.
doesn't make any sense.
Just funny stuff. You're in Fernie now. This is the real world. Yeah. No, I got nothing
Yeah,
else. I got nothing else on this one.
All right. So Harris and Kaz, would either of you recommend the movie Out Here to other people?
Oh yeah, fuck no. Like
Fuck.
absolutely
No.
not.
No.
No, never.
Now this no reason to watch this.
No. Except for a podcast where like I gotta have something for an episode.
If you were one of the 10 people that were handed this DVD back in 2012 when you bought a case of your favorite beer at the store, I guess watch it once. I mean, like what? It took you almost a decade to take the shrink wrap off of this movie to watch it.
Oh, and it was worth it.
If we didn't, in fact, have a podcast that was about watching weird movies,
This would still be shrink wrapped
would-
on my
yeah,
DVD shelf.
you'd still
to this
have
day.
it. Yeah.
And it would just be like this oddity that I would probably never watch, and then I'd die one day, and it would still be
and
like,
has to be
and then my
passed down.
family has to decide
Yeah.
like what do we do with this? Like he obviously kept it for a reason.
But instead, You got closure today.
I got closure, all right.
Congratulations, James.
I'll say this, like, we had some good belly laughs at some of the stupider jokes in this movie.
Yeah, there was some laughs in this.
Yeah. Like,
that doesn't mean you should watch. Just because a movie made you laugh doesn't mean I recommend it.
Absolutely
like,
not, yeah.
Shit on YouTube makes me laugh. You know, it's like humor is everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I was like, I'm just trying. I'm grasping at straws here to say positive things, right? Yeah. Like, I was gonna say the first time I watched it that I was kind of impressed by the restraint that the Kokanee company seemed to have in like pushing their brand. It just seemed like, did they just like finance a movie for the hell of it? And then it's like, oh no, there's a straight up like guy who rides in on a Kokanee truck to save the day by the end. Even the hypothetical praise I would have given this movie, I can't. I can't anymore.
I'm disappointed at the restraint that Kokanee showed. If anything, I would have characters mentioning every 5 minutes the delicious, crisp taste of Kokanee beer.
It's time to break the fourth wall and be like, would anybody else like a Kokanee?
I mean, fuck, you know, it's like if your movie is a product, fucking shill the product. You're already whores. Now we're just negotiating the price. Just like, come on already. I don't know.
And a word to all the fans who like submitted their props or their like favorite
what
bar
was
or
that?
the band. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
At the end credits, they show like a tribute to the fans who like, you know, rode in or drank like 100 cans of Kokanee to get themselves like a walk-on roll or whatever, this piece of shit. Was it worth it? Do you think it was fucking worth it, you guys?
Most of them probably would have drank 100 cases of Kokanee regardless. So. Harrison, thank you so much for coming on, being here. I was about to say, like, what's going on in your life? The impending birth of your child, I'm certain is...
If you want me to plug something, I'm going to plug my new son. My son is dropping in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm really excited to check it out.
That's a co-collaboration with your wife.
Yeah. This is a
long-time collaborative partner. Yeah.
Feet, Tony, and Pitbull, which I think is exciting.
Oh, that's nice.
And Snow, because he's you'd be surprised how easy he is.
He's huge and ferny.
Yeah, he's really big.
Yeah. Is there anything you've watched or consumed recently that you really love that you want to recommend people check out?
Oh, I mean, I haven't seen a recent film in a long time. I'm very into the new Moses Sumney album. That's like my only real media recommendation for y'all right now. You should listen to that. But really the best media that I've consumed recently is the Fuck Is This podcast, which is you guys. And I mean, again, I haven't listened to any episodes.
No, so you haven't.
But
you're going to listen to this one.
Yeah.
First episode listen.
This counts to listen, I think, as far as I'm concerned. Like,
sure, you're preemptively listening to it.
Yeah, this is being very supportive.
Yeah, you're getting in at the right time now that we are in like a proper recording studio. Also, like, shout out to Podstream Studios for having
us. That's right, our new home, I guess, officially. Yes, yeah, it's very cool. Cool. Jameson, what you got going on?
I mean, I think season 4 of Better Call Saul just got on Netflix, so I'm going through that. I don't know. I've been really busy lately. I turned 34 recently.
Right on!
My birthday not too long ago. That was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, so I guess I'm plugging myself. and the ravages of age.
Yeah, I guess this is the podcast where we just plug ourselves and the things going on in the life. Like I said last week, I'm still on season 5 of DC's Legends of Tomorrow as Napoleon Bonaparte, which is something that I'm going to drop in casual conversation until it gets totally obnoxious. You should definitely.
Will.
No, it never will. No, it was amazing. You know what I realized the other day that it absolutely fucking blew my mind? You know,
Je suis Napoleon.
You know, there's a Wikipedia page that's depictions of Napoleon in film and TV.
Are you in it now?
I haven't checked it in a while, but I might be at some point.
You can edit that yourself, right?
I know I can, but I don't think I'm that narcissistic. So if anyone's listening out there and wants to add me on Wikipedia, go right ahead.
Harrison and I fancy ourselves as writers, so you tell us what you want us to be said, and we'll punch it up for you.
Yeah, get Jameson to update your Wikipedia for
you. There you go.
Great. Awesome. Love it. All right, great. Well, thanks for tuning into the podcast, everybody, and we'll
catch
you next
Harrison.
time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
Good
for
to see you,
having me,
buddy.
guys.
All right. You stay frosty, deputy dog.
Oh, fuck. We're doing that for real?
Sure, why not? We don't have a sign-off.
Oh, Jesus.
So we might as well...
Check out our Mr. Stitch episode to catch that joke, kids.
I mean, like, can you think of any other, lines from, like, the movie? Should we, do, a sign-off that's, movie-specific?
Yeah, I should say goodbye. Fuck napkin, or,
Well.
Catch it. All right, that's the. All right.
I don't know. I can't believe I fucked Theo and also Kathy.
All right. Catch you next episode, Jizz Napkins.
Take them on the city, them is slummy, stop.